Okay, so as I speak, it is almost 11 p.m. And today we're going to be talking about a pretty big decision I've had to make by today because the deadline is basically in 1 hour, the drop deadline. After this, I could still technically use a late drop. I mean, maybe it would be better, but I don't want to exactly go that path because I don't even know if will ultimately have the ability to use that such a late drop. So, anyways, I'm going to be talking about like which class I decided to drop. So, for context, I used to have four classes: signals and systems, design and integrated circuits, algorithms, and computability plus complexity. So, out of these four classes, I unfortunately just thought like digital thought my signals and systems class was the least had the least use for me in the future. And my reasoning was because in EX151, you know, this could potentially lead me almost straight to a job. Like my digital design class in IC and digital design class could lead me, especially when you got like companies sponsoring that class. And then my algorithms class, I feel like there's also a purpose. There's also pretty good purpose because CS, I like C. I'm personally, I'll say I'm more interested in CS and that stuff than I am in the hardware stuff. But I also feel like it's good to know hardware, especially because one, the software job market is kind of cooked, and two, you know, even if you end up going into hardware, you'll still be doing software. But if you're in software, you're probably not gonna want to touch hardware in your life. And then my other reasoning, my other reason why I wanted to take this, drop the class, was time. I mean, it's not a big inconvenience, but like on Wednesdays and Fridays, like on Wednesdays I would have lecture and I have to run up 15 minutes in 10 minutes. A walk that takes like probably 15 minutes in 10 minutes and go all the way up to the north side. And then on Friday, I'd have to squeeze a discussion with like 3 hours of teaching. With 3 hours of teaching, and I have to squish a discussion in that time frame, which is not like very fun to do, especially when I'm especially when you're like supposed to be teaching them and they're expecting you to get there, but if you're late, they're probably going to be kind of upset at you. And I don't like to feel rushed like that. And then the third reason was because already tried learning the stuff at home, and I feel like if I can just rewatch the lectures and like do the P sets, which are basically available online, I feel like I would be able to understand this stuff pretty well, and perhaps even just jump to like this the follow up class, which is digital signal processing. I feel like that class could have perhaps more use in the future, but and now that I've talked about like my reasoning for dropping my classes, I'll talk to you about the reasons why I'm kind of skeptical of dropping. So one reason why I'm kind of skeptical of why I waited all the way to here was because this class is like kind of what I call the bedrock of hardware engineering. Sure, I can know like digital design integrated circuits, but it's also nice to kind of have like what I call the foundation and look what's like perhaps especially look like what's behind like all this. Signals and systems is like a big like EE class, and so is microelectronics. These two classes are like basically what I almost call the bedrock of of being a hardware engineer. The other reason why I'm like little skeptical is our prof is really good. Like I just absolutely love his lectures. I've even looked at some of his papers, and they're pretty damn interesting. I feel like he could be some pretty good use, but if use for me later on if I decide to go to grad school, and if I do well in his class, like he could remember me, and that could get me a good recommendation. But and by leaving this class, one, I don't know if I'm gonna meet him again, and two, even if I do, he might be a little upset that I dropped the class. But And even if I take this class later on, I don't know if like I'm gonna get a good professor to be teaching the class. Although that can maybe be solved by like reading the book or by like watching MIT's Alan Oppenheim. But I still feel like I might be missing out the experience. And the third reason, like this is not exactly why I should be taking the class in the first place. Like obviously I should have like my own agenda, but it's nice to like have some fellow friends with me. Literally, literally my fellow friends. Like one of my fellow swim club members is in very chill, very cool guy. I You should go meet him. Jack, he's a subscriber of this channel, and another one who I like. So another one who's in one of my CSM, which is like teaching groups, also is with me, and I feel like just like making this decision, I'm like leaving some friends behind, and and like yeah, I mean it's not the end of the world. I can meet them again, but like still. By doing this, I mean, I'll just say in conclusion, there wasn't really much of an easy choice to draw. Every path was going to have like its potential negative consequences later on. But I just saw the most logic in dropping this class versus all the other classes like CS 170. Like if I drop my algorithms class, I'd be basically be taking my complexity class before my algorithms, and I probably wouldn't understand the complexity class that well. And then if I drop my complexity class, I probably wouldn't be able to take that class again. And that class could help me understand like, CS theory, which is in fact really interesting to me. And if I drop, my digital design class, I might be at a big loss for I'll say a potential, internship or job position later on. So there really just wasn't many good opportunities for me or good choices, I could say. But I feel like given all the time and like thinking through this is what I ultimately had to end up doing. And hopefully like I don't have to, hopefully I don't regret this. Maybe I will, but that's just the decision I'll make. I literally had to make it by now. So yeah. Yeah. Hopefully this makes the my burden lighter. I also want balance in my life. I also, in addition to my classes, I got recruiting and I got a bunch of teaching, and I like to keep myself fit, so that means I have to work out, and that takes time away from me. And with that, I don't think taking four texts and basically spending your entire life in eeks in doing class work is a good idea. So that concludes like my talk about this, and yeah, I hope to see you next time. Like and subscribe.